There's going to be people of means who are going to travel, and then there's going to be people maybe who of lesser means who might actually be able to use an Oculus or a Magic Leap or some other kind of device to travel to the same place, but from their own couch. But in many ways, it's actually going to create even more distance between those two people. That psychologically, and I think that we've experienced this through social media. In many ways, it's brought people closer in certain ways, but actually created this remarkable divide because it's even more visible, actually, the divide.
So the man at the beginning of the video was talking about some of the things that will be happening in the future, and in the not too distant future, with regards to the issue of traveling, that the rich will be able to travel, but the poor will, in quotes, travel on their virtual reality headsets, and just to show how this is something that's actually being planned, I just want to share with you a document which is in the form of a chart, but it's just in case you want to download it, to find it and download it and read it for yourself. It's the document can be downloaded for free as a PDF. It's called Absolute Zero, and it's produced by UK Fires. So I think if you go to Google or Brave or DuckDuck or any other search engine that you use, if you type in Absolute Zero by UK Fires, you'll find this document and you can download it for free. So, but the chart I want to share with you is on page 6. Okay, I'm not going to be reading the whole document; it's too long. This is 31 pages, but I just want to share with you this chart here, and I won't be reading everything on this chart. I just want to share with you, for instance, the issue of transportation and travel. So I'll go through this top tier here on the chart, which is road vehicles, rail, flying, shipping, heating, appliances, food. Maybe I can talk to you about where it talks about electricity and fossil fuels, so-called fossil fuels. Okay. So with regards to road vehicles, it says here, and you see the dates there. You can see the dates here. So it's got 2020 to 2029. What should be happening in this decade, of which this year we're in 2026. It says, with regards to road vehicles, development of petrol, diesel / diesel engines ends. So in this decade, between 2020 and 2029, the development of, when they say development, they mean even the production of petrol and diesel vehicles should stop. So this has to stop by 2029. It has to stop. Any new vehicle introduced from now on must be compatible with absolute zero. And what do they mean by absolute zero? They mean they are talking about cars, in this case cars here, rail and planes and shipping. They should not use combustion engines. They should not use petrol and diesel engines. So they have to be cars that are made or produced after 2029. In other words, from 2030 onwards, have to be electric vehicles. Okay, and then between 2030 and 2049 says all new vehicles electric. Like I already said, average size of cars reduces to 1,000 kgs. I'm not sure exactly what that is in pounds. I think it would be just over 2,000 pounds in weight. So they want to reduce, not only make cars electric, but they want to reduce their weight as well. That I think if the thinking is if they reduce the weight, it will also mean that the vehicles won't need to use that much energy. So from 2050, absolute zero. Okay. There won't be any combustion cars. In fact, I think what they'll do is they'll stop manufacturing cars or vehicles that use petrol or diesel between by 2029, and then all cars or vehicles that are produced between 2030 and 2049 will be electric. But what will happen to those who already own petrol and diesel cars? I think that the plan is to stop everyone using petrol and diesel cars by 2050. As you can see here, it says absolute zero, so no combustion vehicles are going to be allowed, I think, at all on the roads by 2050. It says road use at 60% of 2020 levels. So they want to reduce even the vehicles that are on the road through reducing distance traveled or reducing vehicle weight. It says beyond 2050, new options for energy stored linked to expanding non-emitting electricity may allow demand growth. So if someone can come up with another way to store energy, so right now most electric vehicles, which are sometimes referred to as EVs, I think most of them use lithium batteries. So I think what they're saying is, if someone can come up with a different way of storing energy other than batteries, perhaps they can allow the expansion of more vehicles on the road. Remember, they want to reduce the vehicles that are on the road. Maybe they'll allow an expansion of vehicles on the road if other ways can be found to store energy other than batteries. Because of course, it's normally thought that electric vehicles don't produce any pollution, but the manufacturing process, even the manufacturing of solar panels and wind turbines actually produces pollution as well. Let's move on to rail. Between 2020 and 29, with regards to rail specifically, it says growth in domestic and international rail as substitute for flights and low occupancy car travel. So they want to encourage the public to use trains rather than flying. So they want to push the public onto public transport rather than actually owning a car and using cars. From 2030 to 2049, further growth with expanded network and all electric trains. Rail becomes dominant mode for freight as shipping declines. So they want to decrease the use of shipping. Ships obviously, I think all ships use diesel to move across the sea. They want to decrease that and use more electric trains. 2050, absolute zero. What's going to happen from 2050 onwards? It says electric trains, the preferred mode of travel for people and freight over all significant distances. So they want the public to use electric trains. They don't want us to actually own cars. Why? Because that gives us independence and allows us to exercise our God-given right of to travel. But don't be fooled by this, because they're also building smart cities as well. So 15 minutes, some of them even 10 minutes, some of them even 5-minute cities. I know there are some 20-minute cities, but these are actually smart prisons. Okay, so they may not even allow us to use electric trains or to go onto electric trains. We might be stuck in our zones for those who are in the cities. Okay. What about beyond 2050? It says train speeds increase with increasing availability of zero emissions electricity. That's what net zero means. It's zero emissions, basically. What about flying? Between 2020 and 2029, all airports except Heathrow, Glasgow, and Belfast close with transfers by rail. For those who don't know, Heathrow is in London. Okay, Glasgow is in Scotland. Belfast is in Ireland. Okay, they want all other airports to close. That's in the UK, United Kingdom. Okay, between these years, and I think what they're saying is by 2029 all airports should close. Only these three should be open. What about 2030 to 2049? All remaining remaining airports to close. So they want to close all the airports, including these three that have been mentioned here, by 2049. As you can see, it kind of narrows down here, and then you've got what looks like a stop sign here. But there's nothing. There won't be any planes flying between from 2050 onwards. It's absolute zero. Because commercial airplanes actually all use combustion. They're mostly jet engines. They mostly have jet engines. Of course, you've got the ones that have got propellers on them, but most of them are they use jet engines. And so far, there hasn't been no one has found a way to get big planes to fly by using electricity. It's only small planes that use electricity so far. What about beyond 2050? Electric planes may fly. You see that? Electric planes may fly with synthetic fuel once they are excess non-emitting electricity supplies. So what's the next one down from flying? It's shipping. Between 2020 and 2029, there are currently no freight ships operating without emissions, so shipping must contract. As you can see here, it contracts. 2030 to 2049, all shipping declines to zero. And then here, there won't be any ships sailing on the oceans that are using diesel. Okay. Beyond 2050, some naval ships operate with onboard nuclear power, and new storage options may allow electric power. So if they can find a way to get ships to move by using nuclear power or new storage options, like I remember I explained here, new storage options means other than electric. They also may allow electric as well. So there are maybe scientists and other people out there who are trying to find other means to get all these things moving, whether it be vehicles. Of course, we've got electric vehicles and we've got hydrogen as well, but there are still some out there who are trying to find other ways, okay, to get cars to move, as well as planes as well to fly without the use of combustion engines. So that was shipping. In terms of heating, and when they say heating, they're talking mostly about homes, okay. Between 2020 and 2029, electric heat pumps replace gas boilers. This is already happening, especially in Europe and especially in the UK. But there's been lots of complaints about these heat pumps. It says that they are not very efficient. They're not as good as gas boilers. Okay, it says, and building retrofits air tightness, so making houses airtight, so that they don't let out heat. Insulation and external shading expand rapidly. They want to reduce the use of heating in homes. Okay. I want to read all that. Okay, if we go down to, so that was heating. If we go down to electricity. So between 2020 and 2029, wind and solar supplies grow as rapidly as possible, with associated storage and distribution, rapid expansion in electrification of end users. So this one here, this row here is 2030 onwards, fourfold increase in renewable generation from 2020, all non-electrical motors and heaters phased out. Absolute zero, 2050. All energy supply is now non-emitting electricity. They won't allow gas boilers in homes from 2050 onwards. Demand for non-emitting electricity drives ongoing expansion in supply. What's the last one here? Fossil fuels. What they call fossil fuels is things like, petrol, diesel, kerosene, paraffin. 2020 to 2029, rapid reduction in supply. As you can see, this narrows down here where it looks like it's brown here, it narrows down, whereas the others don't really narrow down that much. So there's supposed to be a rapid reduction in supply and use of all fossil fuels, except for oil for plastic production. And then here between 2030 onwards, fossil fuels completely phased out. And then by 2050, they don't want any fossil fuels to be used. So-called fossil fuels, they're not fossil fuels, okay? And 2050 onwards, development of carbon capture and storage may allow resumption of use of gas and coal for electricity. So they're saying if a way to capture the carbon, which they say is causing climate change, if a way can be found to capture it, then they may allow the resumption of use of gas and coal for electricity. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to share in terms of this document here. But there's some other stuff I wanted to share with you. With regards to things that are happening right now in their quest. And when I talk about they and they, I'm talking about, I've explained in one of my videos that the word they, if someone was to ask what does they mean, it means the hierarchy enslaving you, okay? These unelected organizations and unelected officials, they're the ones who are pushing for all this so that they can enslave mankind. That's the ultimate goal of these organizations and of the devil himself. And this time there won't be any escape, okay? Mankind escaped from the slavery of the Dark Ages, but this time they don't want to allow that to happen again. That's why they're even bringing in CBDCs and digital currencies and all these social credit scores and stuff like that. What they want to do is, for anyone who wants to protest if someone wants to protest what is happening, anything that is being done by the government or some organization that is in authority, or they'll just cut you off from the system, okay? So this is a report from CNBC. It says Britain responds to Iran war energy shock by requiring solar panels and heat pumps in all new homes. Actually, this is not even really news, especially for the UK. This has been going on for a while. But I think they're increasing the installation of solar panels and heat pumps in new homes. Okay, and even old homes. Some people are doing that out of their own pocket. They're putting these things in their homes out of their own pockets. And then here we've got this report that says in South Korea, in order to enforce, South Korea is enforcing a 5-day vehicle rotation system as Mid-East conflict hits energy supplies. South Korea will strictly enforce a mandatory 5-day vehicle rotation system for the public sector to respond to possible oil supply disruption and continued hostilities in the Middle East, local media reported on Tuesday. Starting Wednesday, the move is part of the government's energy-saving measures to mitigate the impact of worldwide energy shortages. Seoul-based Yonhap News reported, citing the climate ministry. The government will strengthen monitoring of the public sector's compliance with the license plate-based rationing system, under which cars are divided into 5 groups based on the last digit of their license plate numbers, and each group is prohibited from driving on a designated weekday. Electric and hydrogen vehicles are exempt from such restrictions. Why? Because they say that these cars, EVs and hydrogen vehicles, are not using petrol or diesel, so they're exempt from this exercise because they are not affected by the shortage of petrol and diesel. I hope that makes sense. But so how would this work? This vehicle rotation? They're saying the last digit on a number plate will determine which day you can use the car, or you can use your car. If you have a day when you're not supposed to use the car, obviously then you can't drive it. Yeah, it says each group is prohibited from driving on a designated weekday. So that's how they'll rotate this. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to share about net zero and what's actually happening right now in order for them to try and achieve net zero. I don't know how long this war in the Middle East will last, perhaps, because now they are also destroying oil refineries. There was apparently a very big oil refinery in Texas that was blown up, and then there was another one that was blown up in Russia, in the States, the Ukrainians that blew it up, and apparently that's actually affected Russia's ability to export fuels, brought the percentage of exports down to 40%. And of course, there are the oil refineries that have been blown up in the Middle East, where most of the oil comes from. But of course, there are still other countries that produce oil, like Venezuela, and although apparently their equipment needs upgrading. We've got oil as well from Nigeria and Angola and other parts of the world. Of course, Canada as well produces oil, as well as the US. But yeah, we'll see what happens over the coming days and weeks. Perhaps things will even get worse. So yeah, prepare yourselves. Make sure you've got some fuel in your car in case of emergency, and make sure you've got some food at home. And lastly, but most importantly, pray for everyone affected by this war in the Middle East. In fact, I think we are all affected. Some of us directly and some of us indirectly, because the price of fuel is going up and it's causing shortages, and also the price of food is going up as well. But of course, all these are contrived events. These are events that are planned. For instance, I've known for I think for over 20 years that Iran was going to be attacked, that there was going to be a war with Iran. This has been known by many because it was actually predicted. So these are planned events. It's not happening organically. But that's what I wanted to share about the issue of net zero and how it's affecting the world and how it's going to affect us in the future and what the plans are for the whole world. I hope it was a blessing to you, and thanks for watching the video.
10 energy saving options from the International Energy Agency. Some people are calling these energy lockdowns. 1. Work from home where possible. The IEA found that 3 additional remote work days per week could cut national car oil demand by 2% to 6%, with individual drivers saving up to 20%. 2. Reduce highway speed limits by at least 10 kilometers per hour. This alone could lower fuel use per driver by 5% to 10%. 3. Encourage public transport. Shifting travel from private cars to buses and trains could reduce national car oil use by 1% to 3%. 4. Alternate private car access to roads in large cities on different days based on number plates. 5. Increase car sharing and adopt efficient driving practices, including tire pressure checks and reduced idling. 6. Improve efficiency for freight vehicles and commercial deliveries through eco-driving techniques. 7. Shift LPG away from transport and toward essential uses like cooking and heating. 8. Avoid air travel where alternatives exist. The IEA said a 40% cut to business flights could lower global jet fuel demand by 7% to 15%. 9. Switch from gas or LPG cooking to electric alternatives where feasible. 10. Allow industry to shift to alternative feedstocks where LPG supplies are under pressure.